Wysteria, energy, twister.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this story is called Aunt Ruby's Jam Cake by Gilletta Clegg. Whip that a little longer, sweetie. Aunt Ruby hovered behind me, her lilac-scented bosom bobbing with every breath. I was 12 that summer when I heard her secret to making perfect jam cake. I watched the butter and sugar whirl under the beaters of her ancient stand mixer. The heavy bowl jiggled with the beating. The scent of vanilla and roses hung heavy in the June air of our outdoor kitchen. You want that so light an angel could dance on top without leaving footprints. Her cotton dress, a shapeless bag, given life and movement by her stout body, swung with each step. Her voice dropped to a scratchy whisper. Or a fairy. Her hand whisked past my head, snatching something fluttery from the roses that draped the above, shading us from the summer sun. Can you add the eggs like I showed you? One at a time, and slowly, child. She moved to the far side of the kitchen, to the long table covered in old formica, nicked and scarred by years of duty. Yes, ma'am. I straightened with my pride. Adding eggs was a grown-up responsibility, only for seasoned cooks to attempt. I carefully cracked an egg into small earthenware, then picked out the shell fragments. I slid the gooey mass into the mixer. The beater slammed into it, mixing it into a fluffy mass of butter and sugar. Thwack. I jumped at the sharp noise of a knife hitting wood. An egg rolled towards the edge of the counter. I grabbed it barely in time. Never you mind me, child. Keep your mind on your task. That's the secret to good cooking. Always keep your attention on your task. The knife slammed down again. Something tiny screamed, high and whining like a desperate mosquito. I added another egg to the mix. The knife hit the chopping board again and again. The scream stopped. One more should be enough, Aunt Ruby muttered. I dutifully kept my eyes on the mixing bowl as I added another egg. I slid my gaze to the side as Aunt Ruby crossed near me. She reached into the roses, flicking petals to the side as she searched among the blossoms. Her flabby biceps quivered with each movement. Church lady arms, my mother called them. She swore she'd never get old and fat and have flabby arms that jiggled and shifted as she waved. I watched as Aunt Ruby's church lady arms jabbed into the bushes. She pulled them back. Something tiny pinched between her fat fingers. It screamed like the other one. She carried it across to the chopping block. What's that, Aunt Ruby? I ventured to ask. The last egg was whirling under the beater. It's my special ingredient. Her back blocked my view of the counter. The knife glittered in her fist. I thought rose jelly was a special ingredient, along with the raspberry jam. Aunt Ruby turned towards me. Her mouth curved in a smile I'd earlier thought was sweet like a rosebud. Now it seemed cruel, pinched and tight. You're a sweet child, but it's time you learned that sweetness comes at a price. Turn off that mixer and come here. I didn't dare disobey, not with that knife in hand. I flipped the switch. The buzzing of the mixer died with a clatter of beaters on the bowl. The 3 steps across the cracked cement felt as long as a country mile. Aunt Ruby stepped away from the counter, stretching her arm to keep something pinned to the chopping block. I moved closer. Curiosity stirred, despite the strangeness of my great aunt. Her lilac scent enveloped me in a cloying blanket. I leaned over the wooden board. She had a tiny person trapped under her fingers. The person glowed bright pink. Delicate wings fluttered, their edges torn by my aunt's cruel grip. The face turned to me with a desperate look. Help me, the mouth seemed to say. Let it go, I begged. It's a fairy. Ruby shook her head. They're like weeds. Let one go and you'll have hundreds of the things. I stared at the delicate creature. What harm could they do? You believe those stories, child? Ruby leaned close, her beady eyes hard like marbles in her puffy face. I couldn't hold her gaze. Mine slid upwards to where her grey hair stood in wild curls. Fairies are worse than aphids. They suck the life from your roses. Thwack. I jumped as the knife neatly severed the fairy's head. The body oozed what looked like honey. Aunt Ruby's knife smacked down again, crushing the fairy into a paste. She scraped it into the bowl. They steal honey too. I can't have them bothering my bees or the chickens. She set the knife down. The blade dripped golden liquid onto the counter. I can't abide them in the roses. Now go add that to the mixer. I numbly took the bowl, as she ordered. The fairy slime oozed into the sugary mass. It sparkled as the beaters whirled. Aunt Ruby doled out the flour and spices and buttermilk, watching as each addition joined the batter. A tear slipped down my cheek and splashed into the bowl. Now there, child, don't you fret. Fairies aren't like anything else in my garden. Meant to be used, you know. She gently stirred chopped pecans into the mass. Go fetch the jams now. It's time. I headed to where they were and handed her the glass jars, neatly labelled in a curly handwriting. Blushing pink rose jelly and deep red raspberry jam slid into the bowl like blood. Except the fairy had bled gold. I closed my eyes, breathing deep. Lilac, spice, rose vanilla, and something glittery filled my nose. Perfect, Aunt Ruby announced, and she spooned the batter into the heavy baking pan. She handed me the spoon to lick as she slid them into the oven. I swallowed hard, my stomach churning at the thought of smashed fairy. The blushing golden batter oozed onto my finger. I couldn't stop the tears. Hush, child, it's a way of life. Aunt Ruby folded me into her ample bosom and let me cry. Now lick your finger and tell me that it isn't the best jam cake you've ever tasted. I licked the spoon. It was heavenly. I've made jam cake many times in the years since that summer, but I've never had the heart to add Aunt Ruby's special ingredient. Not yet. The end. That's nice. She kills fairies for a living. I don't think I could do that. Although, they are pesky little things when they're that size, because they bite. Thank you for listening, and many blessings.
Wysteria. Energy. Twister.